Welcome, guys. Welcome to Upskill Club Season 4, Track 1, Episode number 5, HBR series. Today, we are going to discuss Level 5 leadership. Um, in a nutshell, what we'll try to capture is what does it takes for what kind of people are needed to transform simple or struggling companies to great and excellent companies, or simply great companies which has sustained excellence for more than 15 years. That is the question that we'll try to answer. An author has done this research and the answer came out to be level 5 leadership. Cool. In a summary, the board of directors and good executives across the board strongly believe that in order to transform a company from good to great, it requires an extreme personality, somebody who is very nuanced, very egocentric, um, maybe much deep in their hard skills, lack of soft skills, and these kind of larger than life personalities are needed um, to convert a good company to a great company, and that is one of the popular notion around the world. Cool. But when the author did this research, and then this research resulted um, them talking to more than 1,500 companies and researching them and their management hierarchy and their results for past, let's say, 40 years period. And the research was confined for 5 years, but the company that they studied was for around 40 to 50 years, and the answer came out to be it's not that the case. In order to achieve true greatness, and true greatness he means your company outperforming the market for more than 15 years and then sustaining it needed uh, at least a level 5 leader at the helm. That was the only common case in all the 1,500 companies they studied. So now this is a very good question. What is a level 5 leadership? Correct. Now level 5 leadership came out to be an extreme paradoxical combination of intense professional will कि ये करना ही है, coupled with extreme personal humility. One of the common example you can very easily find in India. Mukul, I guess Mukul has an answer. Mukul, can you name that person?
Uh,
Who do you think? Achha,
like,
let me open up a question. Who do you think
yeah,
in the perception of that you have consumed business leaders information across the world, a person who has extreme personal humility and intense professional will? Any example which comes to your mind, Mukul, Yaman? Uh,
Steve Jobs.
okay, Steve Jobs. What about you, Pranav? Pranav, any example comes to your mind?
No, nothing specific. I guess Narayan Murthy, I would say.
He will be close. Aman, any example which comes to your mind?
Sir Ratan Tata, मतलब he, मतलब whatever he thinks that we had to do, he will try to do it. But I think it can be a little bit close to that.
Okay, Risham, any example which comes to your mind? Uh, okay, Risham's example is a question on Ambani's. Okay, yes, they have extreme professional will. That is for sure. Extreme personal humility. Maybe we haven't seen enough example at in people information. But that's the beauty of it that you will realize. As I said earlier, today will be more of a storytelling session in terms of the examples. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll talk about use case which classified as level 5 leadership in author study, and this was a very seemingly ordinary man, Darwin E. Smith. Okay, and you will relate to him as the story goes. He was the chief of Kimberly Clark. This was an American company, obviously. This was a very simple paper company. For people who have seen Office, they'll relate to Michael Scott Paper Company. That is not the case. This is something else. This was a very traditional paper company based in USA, and for past few years, their stock has simply fallen behind the benchmark index for more than 2 decades. So they were underperforming a lot the benchmark index. And when Smith, he was a simple lawyer in the firm, was chosen as the CEO of the firm by the board of directors, he himself felt he was not ready. And it was more than highlighted by the board of directors who pulled him aside and said, Ki, hey, you don't have a lot of the qualification for what it takes to be a CEO. But he remained the CEO, and he remained the CEO for the next 20 years. And in that 20 years, what he pulled off was great. How? He led a stunning transformation as Kimberly Clark. And it made them leading consumer paper products company. They were earlier B2B company dealing with various B2B products and contracts and those relationships. Smith was responsible to converting them to becoming a leader in consumer paper products. And in his leadership, he was able to beat two of the very big rivals, Scott Paper. This was again not powered by Michael Scott. This was another company, Scott Paper, and then Procter and Gamble also, who were directly competing with them. And what he did was he outperformed the benchmark index by 4.1 times in his tenure. And to make it more relatable to you guys, he did well than following companies in that 2 decades: Hewlett Packard, 3M, Coca-Cola, and General Electric. So in terms of pure stock performance growth for shareholder value, he was able to outperform these legendary companies, and nobody knows. Funny enough is nobody's talk about them. Talk about Smith. He's a classic example of level 5 leadership, who he was able to blend extreme professional will with intense extreme professional humility, which is the rarest of rarest kind of leadership. That's why it is called as level 5 leadership. We'll talk about what are the other levels of leadership as we go down. um, what author highlighted was, it just doesn't happen without a level 5 leader at the helm. Even though you have very good level 4 executives in both of the companies. Imagine a scenario: there are two companies, let's say company A and company B, both have very cream of the top of executives, but just the person who is sitting at the top, because hierarchy exists even if you like it or not, at the top was level 4 at one firm and level 5 at one firm. Level 5 will beat the level 4 company. It doesn't matter the level 4 leader was of Procter and Gamble, General Electric, or however capital that they have at their disposal. Just through level 5 leaders professional will, these people have been able to beat the level 4 headed big conglomerate, or let's say heavy R&D companies. And it's not just the author also highlighted, it's just not key you have a level 5 leader and they're sitting at the top and everything is sorted. Like, there are common factors which needs to be in place first for a company to be good, even, which is hiring good people and firing bad people. Very simple. The people who are working in the organization becomes better and better and better, and a culture of discipline. These two were essential for every good company. Only took level 5 leader to for that company to be great. And definition of great is you significantly outperforming benchmark index in your sector and the normal, let's say, benchmark by many folds for sustained period is more than 15 years. More than 15 years. Cool. And now we'll talk about what are the all levels. So these are the levels of leadership, and you will also relate to them as I go about a couple of things that you might have heard in your PRs also. We'll talk about the level 1 leader. Level 1 leader is a highly capable individual. Okay, makes productive contribution through talent, knowledge, skills, and good work habits. Okay, level 2 is contributing team member, which is contributes to the achievement of the entire group objectives, works effectively with others in a group setting. Then there is a competent manager, which is organizes people and resources towards effective and efficient pursuit of predetermined objectives. Remember, the keyword here is predetermined objectives. Now it becomes difficult and difficult. Level 4 is someone who is able to catalyze commitment to a vigorous pursuit of clear and compelling vision. क्या यार यही करना है, अगले 5 साल हमें यही लैंड करना है, दिस इज आवर भाग. Okay, and they are able to stimulate the entire group to have a very high performance standards. But at level 5, they are able to build enduring greatness. It's a very paradoxal. Why I say paradoxal combination? If you have very intense professional will, more than likely you will build an ego. It is very very common side effect of it, and it's very human to build up ego when you have intense professional will and you are able to do good things for more than 10 years through your own capacity. But only level 5 leaders are able to marry that with professional humility. I guess you all of you are able to relate to the first 3 levels of leadership, right, Mukul?
Yes, like in a way.
In a way, yes. Cool. हाँ 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 तो open point before I move ahead. Anything that is on top of your mind about the levels or level 5 leadership?
Anubhav, one thing that I wanted to ask here is that as you are moving up the ladder, so the qualities or the sub points that you have mentioned are particular to that level only, or is it like these are kind of additive? For example,
हाँ, good question. So
that anyone at
every level, when you move up, you are assumed to have the quality of the level below you. The level 5 leader are level 4 leader, which is very effective leader who are able to catalyze in vigorous pursuit of excellence and with a compelling vision and able to set very high standards. At level 5, that they are just able to marry that with extreme personal humility, which is very difficult.
Okay. The reason that I asked this question was that recently during our outing now, there was question, and I guess many of us during our professional career that we have such kind of a question that as we are upscaling, as we are growing into the growing up the hierarchical level, there comes a time that when we are focusing and when we are acquiring new skills and those important skills that are going to be used very frequently at that particular level, we do tend to lose the touch, or forgot, or whatever you can say, some skills at the lower level. And that is when many people say ki, yeah, it's okay for that, because the skills that you require now are much more important and you should focus on them. So that is why I was asking that is it necessary to be additive, or is it it's kind of a you have to maintain some balance, something like that.
So when you move up, this is more about how you function. If you remember last discussion also, it was how you operated and how you function. So your how you function needs to improve. But these are the traits of people. Last discussion of 7 transformations of leadership was how you function, how you operate, and you can achieve that. But these are actually traits of people. If you look closely, these are basically traits of human people. They're not
Okay.
some, and we learn how you acquire them and how you learn. And you, as I said earlier, you might have learned couple of things as feedback in various of your PRs. Aman will get to know that soon. Other might have been exposed to it by now, at least by level 3 at least. These kind of feedbacks, and these are human traits. यार ये करना है, या ना साथ में तो अच्छा काम नहीं कर पाता, अकेले अच्छे से काम कर लेता है, लेकिन जैसे बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट आता है ना तेरी फट लेती है. These kind of common conversations, simple conversation might have happened. They are actually communicating that there is a level that you need to hit. So these are human traits a person needs to have to operate at these levels.
Okay.
Cool. Let's get any other somebody has a question in chat. हाँ अच्छा, cool Rishabh. So now another thing is level 5 leadership is not what the author or not what you would expect. You would expect something very different. So in our discovery, what author found was, as I said earlier, good to great companies require larger than life personalities who are able to make headlines and become celebrities. These are the people that we are able to relate to and admire also, and we want, and in count perception is these are the kind of people who are needed. Correct. Let me make it very relatable by asking you a couple of questions of companies that you might know are doing well, but very difficult to, let's say, contribute to the retail. Example, what is the bike or the motorcycle which is synonymous with very Indianness and royalty in India?
Royal Enfield.
Royal Enfield. It's the company's brand is very strong. Correct.
Yep.
Who is the CEO of Royal Enfield? You don't know. Correct. Okay. Let me make it more relatable. Uh, what is the company which is the benchmark of highest quality of television?
Samsung, LG,
Samsung,
uh,
LG, and who are
Sony,
there?
Sony.
Sony has, for common people, it is Sony. Samsung has entered now. Sony has been there for longer. So if it is
Okay.
Sony, who is the CEO of Sony? You don't know. And now let me take a Gen Z brand, to make it more relatable to Aman. Uh, Let me try to take an example. Uh, hmm, this will be easy. But I don't know if which is the most recognizable shoe brand?
Nike.
Who is the CEO of Nike?
I didn't know.
Because these guys don't care. Come to public and talk about them. They have built companies which have lasted more than 100 years, and are their founders. Tata's have done it, but Tata's had done the fundamental revamp. So everybody was going to them. They were not coming themselves. Everybody was going to them. कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो? These guys have built such diverse, simple products which has lasted and are remembered for something, but and their CEOs are not known. And it could have been very easy if they wanted to understand this also. It
But
could have
they
been
never
very.
came up and
They
went.
didn't care
Yeah.
because they were not that kind of person. They were, in my opinion, operating at a different level. Now I'll make you very through counterintuitive question. Who is the CEO of Zomato?
Dipinder
Dipinder
Goyal.
Goyal.
We all know. And but Zomato has gone public and is doing well, but it hasn't lasted for 15 years to 20 years. Take Dipinder might be very, very good, but in my opinion, he would be at a level 4. It will be very difficult for him to reach level 5.
But how you will rate Steve Jobs in that sense, like because he like company lasted for more than 20 years, 30 years or
एक
so.
कंपनी नहीं, उनके अंडर होना चाहिए वो, उनके
Correct.
अंडर होना चाहिए.
Unke, hmm. Like it lasted for 15 to 20 years unke under like whenever he was there like
हाँ तो if you remember the first statement, level 5 leadership is actually needed when you need to go through a transformation. Anybody can come, and the example, anybody can come. This would be very good case for Microsoft actually. It needed somebody who was insanely good. Maybe Satya is operating at level 5. He has that. Whenever you talk, you see his interviews or something, you would not find any ego. And that is also true for Google CEOs also. One of them, correct? Which was, they have insane professional desire to just hit it, and then still, while they are doing so, they're very humble as a person, as a person. This is a human trait we're talking about, and it is needed the most when you're going through a transformation. So when Jobs came back in 1996, I guess, and then he revamped the company. At that point of time, maybe he was operating at level 5. He had to operate at level 5, else so Apple would have failed. he knew he was very good. Luckily he had very good people under him also. ऐसा said कि हो सकता है, लेकिन टॉप पे अगर बंदा लेवल 5 पे ऑपरेट नहीं करे तो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन नहीं चलेगा 15 साल, ट्रांसफॉर्म होकर एक्सपीरियंस नहीं आएगी. So maybe for that period of time, because he was humbled, maybe through because of his exist, and next not doing that good when he came back for his love of Apple, then he operated at level 5 in his personal capacity, so that people were rallying for him even more. And while he was going about it, he was very humble. बाद में भी तुम उनके वो देखोगे तो he knew his product was great, and he stopped mocking other people. Earlier they had to mock other people. Their ads need to mock because they was directly competing. Then he evolved कि हाँ भाई अब अलग लेवल पे जाता है. So in my opinion, in that period of time, he would have been operating at level 5 in 1996. उसके पहले I don't agree.
Got it.
Cool. So this is a very good discussion. What you are actually having. What is level 5? So as author said, this is not something that you expect, and not is something that they expected also. Example, Darwin Smith. We'll talk about Darwin Smith a bit more because this is the content that we have. So Darwin Smith shunned attention. You know, when
Just one
journalists,
second. You can say the level 5 leadership brings transformation or a part of मतलब,
they need to lead
they
transformations.
they lead transformation.
They lead transformations.
Wow.
They're able to build companies which are great, and by definition of great, companies who do well for more than 15 years under them.
Wow, right.
Okay, I'll move forward. Then we'll touch base with Darwin Smith, who was the CEO of Kimberly Clark. Was CEO of Kimberly Clark's. Darwin was very shy. He was very shy. He stunned attention. Whenever journalists asked him about his management style, he didn't used to wear very clean black suits, trim glasses, come in Porsche, not nothing like. He was very simple, and sometimes very unfashionable also. And he only used to say one word, which is his management style is eccentric. So this will sound as something who is looking inward and is not very, let's say, outspoken, and he might give an impression of being soft. But if whenever people considered that a journalist or their competition, they were what they got in turn was a very fierce, e- very stoic, a person who was leading a firm, and his view of life and his view of what company he wants to build was same. And if you talk about Smith's story, he was a very simple farm boy. Nothing special about him. One of the story goes is कि while he was working on a farm, he lost his finger, and the very next day he came to school, and it simply means the resolve that he had from start, irrespective of he was a CEO in future or not. And by simple resolve, even though he was poor, by accepting that he wanted to build out, he was able to get admission in Harvard Law School. And when he led Kimberly Clark, he showed the same resolve. How when he became a very young CEO. When he was appointed, the doctors unfortunately diagnosed him with cancer, throat cancer. He informed the board कि यार I only a doctor has given me a year, but he also said कि but I am not planning to die anytime soon. Die anytime soon. Uh, and I'll keep leading Kimberly Clark. He communicated weekly for many years for his radiation therapy. So he was leading the firm for 5 days and communicating to a different city for radiation therapy for years while he was leading Kimberly Clark. Imagine the mental resolve the person has. So and doctor gave him 1 year. He lived for 25 more years. 20 or out of those 20 years, he was CEO of Kimberly Clark. And this fierce resolve towards life, he also brought to Kimberly Clark. And how fierce resolve, Kimberly Clark was based as a paper company, if you remember, right? And their traditional business was selling coated paper. पेपर है उसको कोट करके बेचना है अलग अलग कोटिंग से. But he realized himself that it will be very subpar business always. The economics was bad and competition was also doing well than them. ठीक है, and the whoever was his competition, they as a company was also weak. कि वो भी बहुत अच्छे लोग नहीं है भाई, समझ लो कि इनसे कॉम्पीट करके भी हम कुछ अच्छा करेंगे. तो दैट्स व्हाई ही सेड, सिंपली सेड कि हमें अपना सब कुछ बेच के we need to go to consumer products which has better economics, which has world class competition like Procter and Gamble, which will either you to be very good at your craft or simply perish because those guys are bloody good. And the analogy is very same to when a general lands on an enemy soil and they burn their boats. कि अब वापस तो जाना ही नहीं, either we succeed in our mission or we perish here. The generals do that. That is the same mindset he brought to Kimberly Clark. And he even sold the original mill from where the company started. Kimberly Clark की first mill was in Kimberly, and he sold that mill. Imagine the emotional thrust people would have given to him. And he switched his company, migrated all the funds towards building Huggies diaper. Now you know what he has built.
Hmm.
Can you please repeat? He built Huggies diaper, you said.
Yes.
Okay, so he is
Nah,
the owner of that company.
he's not the owner. He's the CEO. He was the CEO of the
CEO.
CEO of Kimberly
Oh,
Clark
Huggies.
and
That's
Kleenex
why
tissues.
everyone. That's why I think actually, my family has recently born. When they don't care about diaper, when I say it's being Huggies, they don't say diapers. That was a brand. They say it's being Huggies.
So,
That's it.
so he was able to build that. When he was doing so, everybody called the move stupid. Stupid, point blank stupid. The stock plummeted even further. If you remember, the stock has already plummeted at 36%. They plummeted even further. And but in after when he was done, 25 liters, Kimberly Clark was leading in 6 categories out of 8. And they have acquired Scott Paper. They're one of the primary, let's say, a competitor, and beat Procter and Gamble with such so much money in 6 or 8 products. And when he retired, he simply said, Smith said, I personally never start becoming qualified for the job. So imagine a person who took what kind of company and built into what, and it took him 25 years. To sustain you for 25 years, you need extreme personal will, professional will, and personal will also, coupled with having the humility to, let's say, be, let's say, so that people are there with you. Cool. So this is what not uh, you expected, correct? कि ये ऐसा करेगा. Then this is something very similar. Author highlight says कि this is not something that they expected also. They also went in the research with some form of notion. Hmm. So it's very simple कि level 5 leadership is humility plus will. Okay. And they also mention that they are actually very dual. They're modest and willful. They're shy, but when needed, they're fearless. To grasp this concept, the story that the author takes is of Abraham Lincoln. If you remember, and because the book is from America, the stories will be from America. So that is given. Okay. Uh,
Hmm.
the the author that Abraham Lincoln as a person was decent amount of famous, but he had only one vision: to build a very great nation, to remove slavery. And I think he has that kind of very strong will. And imagine the backlash he would have got when every single white, let's say, owner had decent amount of people working from them as slaves, and he wanted to abolish that and build a nation. um let's say on top of it, कि ऐसा बनना चाहिए देश. So people called him very quiet, very peaceful, and shy. And whenever people thought he was weak, that was not the case. So, but Abraham Lincoln is worldwide known, and he might be the top, at least top 25 figures of last, let's say, 1000 years in human history in terms of impact that he has created. He created America, and America created everything for last 300, 400 years. So you can go about that. But what author says, it might be a stretch and mistake to compare everyone with Abraham Lincoln. He was insanely
Hmm.
insanely high. But what he also observed was they all also also gave the same form of duality. They are shy, but when needed, they are insanely fearless. They don't want to talk, but when they have to, they inspire such kind of confidence that even greatest of greatest speaker are not able to. Cool. Now we'll take one more story, which is of Coleman M. Mocker. He was CEO of Gillette from 1975 to 1991. While they were doing good, Gillette was doing good. They were upcoming. They were doing decent size, and they were doing good. They found insane amount of takeover evidence कि हमें तुम्हारी कंपनी खरीदनी है. And this is the continuous backlash he has to deal with. People were coming him throwing money at Gillette, so that he just sell your business to us. Okay. And now the story will unfold. You will realize the impact. So Mocker was a very simple gentleman, and the company who was trying to take over them is Raiders. I don't think so. You might have heard of Raiders because Gillette won. He took on the person. Uh, Whenever and they went back and forth to the level that the Raiders offered him 44% premium on his existing stock. In the sense, company was 100 rupees. They offered us कि we will buy it for 144.
44.
है ना? But to imagine the resolve and these proxy battles that Mockler didn't give in, even if people who would have suggested कि यार बेच देते हैं मॉकलर को, मॉकलर बोलता कि बेच देते हैं यार, जिलेट बेच देते हैं, 44% प्रीमियम सारा उठा लेते हैं एंड स्टॉक मार्केट में लगा देते हैं इंडेक्स पे. Even those person would have let's say fell short by 64% of what Mockler and Gillette independently achieved. And if Mockler, who was very simple shy guy, would have caved in, we would not have Match 3 Turbo roaming around in Panwala shop. And because his vision was of what he wanted to build in terms of trimming experience for every single person around the world, and he wanted to build that in terms through innovation. Other people didn't. They simply cared कि जो चल रहा है उसको बेचते रहो marketing के through. And the sad story is Mockler actually didn't got to, let's say, enjoy his own success. When Forbes magazine ने उसको प्री होता ना कि छपने से पहले एक कवर भेज सकते हो आप, तो they gave him that कि देखो ये इशू आने वाला है and this is honoring you, Mockler. And it was very simple कि mountain है, there is a mountain and Mockler was standing there raising a razor. The Mockler Gillette won in that regard basically. Triumph Post में he read that issue. He was walking back to his office and unfortunately he got a heart attack and crumbled. But even I have correct some part. Even if he knew he would not have been able to enjoy this, Mockler would have went the same way. He avoided making millions then. He would have made much in number of millions then and there. But he wanted to improve resolve ki every human should have a very good experience of having a shave. There needs to be no pain in getting a shave done. That was his vision, because those in that time razors were very bad. You used to get in if you know कि अभी innovation तो Gillette ही कर रहा है, correct? Everybody follows.
Yep,
Everybody
yep.
follows, and we
Yep.
have cheap rip-offs only. Innovation is only done by Gillette, and a best a man can get is literal. uh, is literal for Gillette. Cool.
Yep.
Something as trivial as a razor, उसके लिए इतनी रिजॉल्व लगी एक बंदे की. ठीक. I hope that story was decent. Next, we'll simply cover what are the yin and yang of level 5 leadership. Shall we switch to a new link quickly? Okay, let's switch to a new link. Anyone can please share the new link. We'll switch there.
Anupam, kariye.
Thanks, brother. We'll continue. We were on the topic of yin and yang of level 5 leadership. So to make it more relatable, if you remember Kung Fu Panda, you remember the Kung Fu Panda When he in
Yes.
second part he rotates very fast, and he makes the yin and yang. Yin and yang is, there is a bad in good and good in bad. That is yin and yang, right? And it is symbolized by a black dot in white shape, and
Yeah.
a white dot in black shape. Okay, and this is a Chinese philosophy. This is very same. Now there is also yin and yang of level 5 leadership, and this is it. In As I said, it is will plus humility, right? So if personal humility, it means level 5 person will demonstrate a compelling modesty, sharing public attention, never boastful. They are never boastful. Okay, but they are also able to create superb result, a clear catalyst in transformation from good to great. The level 5 leader will act with quiet, calm determination, relies principally on inspired standards, not inspiring charisma to motivate. They inspire standard to live by, not charisma. Remember that. In terms of will, they demonstrate an unwavering resolve to do whatever must be done to produce the best long-term result, no matter how difficult. Okay, they're at personal level. They're able to channel ambition into company, not the self. Set up successors for even more greatness in next generations. This is one of the very key traits of level 5 leadership. And at will level, they are able to set a standard of building an enduring great company, and will settle for nothing less. In order to set it, and this is very paradoxical again, in order to set it, you need a great successor. The only level 5 leaders are able to select a very good, maybe another level 5 leader as their successor. When they're reflecting, they always look in the mirror, not the window. What does this mean? When there is somebody to blame, they look in the mirror, and when there is something to praise, they look in the window. Means they look praise other people and they blame themselves, and this is how they operate, and they always take the responsibility of poor results. And whenever somebody has to be put, they often attribute to luck or other people or external factors. Fair enough. So this is the yin and yang of level 5 leadership. Another story, again, of an unwavering resolve. Okay, this is about CEO of there was another very small Abbott industry laboratories. Okay, Abbott laboratories. He became a CEO. And he was very typical. Kane became a CEO, and he was a very typical level 5 leader. He didn't have any pretense, and he didn't have any inspiring personality that would galvanize the company. Okay, but he had something much more powerful, which was very high standards. And he personally would not stand mediocrity of any form, and it was utterly intolerant of anyone who would accept the idea that good is good enough. And he was able to relentlessly pursue this same, let's say, way of operating, and achieve greatness Abbott Labs. And he fought something very difficult, which people often cave into, which was nepotism. And and he systematically broke down the board, and they removed the executive team who were just there just because they could have been, not through their, let's say, uh, let's say their traits or pedigree, just because they were part of the family. And he simply made to the board that family ties don't matter. It has to be on your caliber. And he became and went out, hired the best executives in the industry. um, and he didn't achieve people who were not taking responsibility and just expected a paycheck. And this was not easy for him. Imagine, he himself came from, let's say, he was even himself a son of the earlier president. Maybe it was easy for him, in my opinion, but it was कि ये family business की तरह नहीं चलेगा. And he had to personally face a lot of internal difficulty in his family, just because his resolve was to build a very long company, very good company for King. And the author jokes कि Clean would have to say कि sorry that I have to fire you, but तुम्हें एक और piece of bread या एक piece of turkey चाहिए क्या? This would have been a very common conversation in his holidays. But by the end of when he was done, entire family was happy because company stock did insanely well. They beat the market by 4 to 4.5 to 1, but their company more than went 4 times, and they were able to beat companies like Pfizer and Merck by a factor of 2. Imagine his iron will led to him, let's say, outperforming, let's say, a company like Pfizer for a decade, for more than 2 decades. And this is something I'll summarize this story. There's a brand name as Walgreens. I hope you might have heard of it somewhere, right? Okay, and Walgreens was a food service brand. They used to serve, let's say, a lot of things around food, but their CEO, let's say Charles, he realized that this was not the case. They would need to shut off their original business and move to convenient drugstores. And he said, and this is one of the stories. He said, we this is one of the planning committee meetings snippets, which in which Smith said, we are going to draw the line. In 5 years, we'll turn off all the restaurant business. And at the time, they had more than 500 restaurants. Okay, now the clock is ticking. You guys are responsible to shut it down. And to his executives, after let's say another planning meeting, it was 6 months. They were having a conversation that, hey, now we have तो हमें 5 साल बचे हैं ना धंधा बंद करने के लिए. One of the executive mentioned. He said, no, not 5 years. It is 4.5 years now. And you, in case you haven't started, you need to start. And he never should imagine. Paul Green's entire family business was built by servicing restaurants, and he was able to shut it down. And so you see very common things, right? Kimberly Clark was able to sell mills. um, Charles was able to sell the home business. These guys who were operating at level 5 were able to understand what is the best for the firm. So they have ambition about the firm, not for themselves. And they were able to routinely select superb successor who were another level 5 successors.
Got it.
Cool. And said कि one of the level 5 said कि मेरा जो सपना है ना, कि मैं कहीं पर भी बैठा हूँ, कोई भी बंदा देख रहा हूँ ना, कि जब भी मैंने अच्छी कंपनी बनाई है तो लोग जो है शान से बोल पाए, यार मैं वहाँ काम करता था कभी. एग्जाम्पल, कोई लोग बोलते हैं ना, टाटा को कौन छोड़ता है, इंडिया में बोलते हैं. इंडिया में वन ऑफ द कॉमन स्टेटमेंट, टाटा को कौन छोड़ता है.
Yep, that
बिकॉज
is
दे
true.
बिल्ड, दैट इज ट्रू, राइट, वेरी कॉमन. इवन एट अ स्मॉल लेवल, टाटा को कौन छोड़ता है. वो कैसे बिल्ड किया उन्होंने, क्योंकि वो लेवल 5 लीडर ने एक लेवल 5 कंपनी बनाई, ग्रेट कंपनी. And one of the crucial thing is them being able to select a level 5 successor. Only level 5 person can succeed. Let's select a level 5 successor because they know कि level 4 से काम नहीं चलेगा. से काम नहीं चलेगा. And this we already have covered, which is window and mirror. This analogy I have already covered. To simplify, they always attribute luck and external people when they succeed, and they look inward and inward whenever they fail. So now the common question at the last is, this talk and these examples were given to top CEOs and executives by the author. They, and imagine 99% of them were level 4. Right? They 100%, and it was a shock for them. So this is one of the snippets from one of the lady show from there. Okay, I believe what you have told us about level 5 leadership, but I am disturbed because I know I am not there yet, and maybe I never will be. Part of the reason I got this job is because of my strong ego. Are you telling me that I can't make a company great if I'm not level 5? This is the question she asked the author. He responded very simply, I studied 1435 companies, and many of them, all of them have, which have, let's say, common Fortune 500 since 1965. Only 11 were able to make it to our study. In all those 11 of them, they had level 5 leader at the help, including the CEO role. It can be chairman, it can be CEO, it can be MD. Was very pivotal for the transition. And he said, now to hear it, we are not saying that level 5 is the only element required from move to grade, but it appears to be essential. Yes, you need discipline in the company. Discipline is as important as level 5. You have level 5 leader, but if people are not disciplined to execute, nothing will happen. You have level 5 leader, but he doesn't has or she doesn't have a good executives, it will not happen. Correct. These are the very building block, and one of the common building block which is missing is level 5 leader. So he in a way, author in a way answered her question that if you don't move to level 5, your company will never be great. So and then she asked one of the common question, which you and me will also ask: can we learn to be level 5? Right?
Yeah.
Can we learn to be level 5? This is the question I guess Pranav was also
Mm.
trying to gauge earlier. He said,
Yep.
and he, as he studied people, he said there are two kind of people only. दो बातें होंगी, if you remember from
Yeah, yeah. Always
yeah.
there are two. Two is the most common number.
हाँ, तो दो बातें होंगी, तो दो तरह के people हैं, people who have level 5 seed और people who don't. So for level 5 1 people are people who not even a million years can, let's say, have this seed. They can have very good ambition, and but it will be always be lasting for themselves.
Hmm.
It will always be about what they got, the fame, fortune, power, adulation, and so on. And the work will never be about what they built, what they created, how they contribute to the society. Cool. And the only thing which is different in level 4 and level 5 is level 5 people have the same ambition and they are also driven to that level. But only thing level 5 has have them over is humility.
Humility.
And second category of people is who could evolve to level 5. So there are level 5 and they capably reside between breed something very simple. उनके upbringing में होता है, right mentorship में होता है, reflection model में होता है, parents में होता है, life experience में होता है, and you can, this is nothing corporate. This is how you have what you have experienced in life. And this is my opinion of it, honestly. And when they have this seed and they have this such kind of experience, that seed develops. क्या ये प्रॉफिट रेज करना, प्रॉफिट करना नहीं करना है, वो बहुत डिफिकल्ट कॉल होती है. So all level 5 leaders in some shape and form have had some life experience which simply sparked this seeds development. And somebody had a near death experience, unfortunately, with cancer. Somebody had was part of World War II, then he led a company. Somebody was unfortunately was part of a ship which was about to, let's say, sink, and he was able to survive. uh, and those kind of some difficult experience in life maybe trigger that seed,
Hmm.
coupled with that ambition. Somebody can be very 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 religious, and that might also help in them regard how they go about their job. Cool. So that's about it for today's session. See, so level 5 leadership is insane professional will coupled with humility. That's it. So what, any other point that you want to discuss?
I guess I like the last point the most because that is something is often the question in the minds of the people that these kind of people are born or bred. And it clearly, the author has clearly, mentioned that there are certain people who are born with this kind of a seed. But it doesn't need to be that you are always born. This is something that can develop over the time also use after your some experiences or some certain thing, and that is the thing that I like the most because it gives the sense that yes, once that's it for me. I think recently I have started focusing on self reflection that this is what I'm doing, is this the way I want to go, this is my journey, what should be my journey. I often question, I have discussions with people. Anupam has been there when I have discussed the thing with him. So I think that self reflection, I can really agree, and that yeah, self reflection and uh, having a goal more than just profits and uh, you know publicity and all those things. vision above that can actually bring a drastic change. So yeah, that was my favorite point to actually take away from this conversation.
Anything that you
Uh,
want to discuss, Aman?
क्या
Anything? अरे कुछ पूछना है आपको या कुछ बताना है अपने अपने जो ये सेशन पे?
मतलब मैं ह्यूमिलिटी के बारे में थोड़ा सा सोच रहा था कि ह्यूमिलिटी को हमें डिस्क्राइब हमें तो वो कर लिया कि प्रोफेशनल वे लेकिन नोट ह्यूमिलिटी को कैसे फॉर्म में डिस्क्राइब करोगे इंसान
Humble होते
लेवल
हो.
5
It is more
लीडर
about people who don't want things for themselves to simplify for others and for society. And in order to do that, you need to be, let's say, humble inside.
ठीक है
So, in
मतलब
terms of
वही
leaders,
मैं सोच
people who don't have BS, but they are also have empathy.
Yep,
mm.
yep.
Who have no BS,
Just
no empathy, and with
mm,
empathy. So, normally people have no BS but no empathy also. That is easier route. A genuine empathy coupled with no BS is very rare to find.
Yep. Yep. And one thing that I like to say that this also highlighted that these kind of people are shy, but it doesn't mean it's not their weakness, and we should not mistake it that they are weak. They are fierce when they have proper vision that this is something they want to do. They are very fierce in that. This is again another point that I like. Yeah, Mukul, please go ahead.
yeah, just one thing. Like we learnt about like 3 to 4 people in these stories. Okay, uh, level 5 is a position a person. Level 5 is kind of a position a person wants to achieve in a way. But I want to reflect on how their personal lives have been in
Mukul,
that journey. Because
uh,
that is like 2 points are majorly covered, the humility point and the professionalism. But the personal life, how their personal life was good, bad, impacting, how it evolved
Hmm.
in that time.
हाँ मतलब
that is yeah.
that is true.
Okay. There's one question that was coming many times while we were going through this was ki author has described that matlab this is as an essential part of great transformation, and he has shown certain example that this was the क्या कहते हैं, this was the strong step that they had taken, and naturally the steps that they were taking was must have been very pushed back. Matlab, like Darwin Smith selling the first mill, or another guy that who was matlab, who cleared out the nepotism from the business. How can we know more that how much during that their toughest period when they were getting so much pushback, how they survived or sustained, because like in case of Darwin Smith, he himself was kind of doubting that whether I'm at that level, matlab, whether I'm capable of being CEO or not. And when you have self doubt and you are getting a pushback, I guess 99% of people just give up. Matlab, how you sustain that is a question to me. Matlab, I don't know, really
हाँ
don't know.
that's why in very strong professional will also needed. कि कंपनी अच्छा करेगी, मुझे पता है अच्छा करेगी, ऐसे ही करेगी, है ना?
समझ
एंड इट इज नॉट ड्रिवन बाय ईगो कि हाँ मुझे इससे फेम मिल जाएगा, मुझे इससे ये मिल जाएगा, नहीं, इट इज अबाउट मुझे पता है कंपनी ऐसे ही अच्छा करेगी. So in order to shut down the traditional business which has lasted for 40 years, it takes insane amount of professional resource. वॉलग्रीन्स का मेन बिजनेस बंद कर दिया लोगों ने, पेपर मिल्स बंद कर दी जहाँ से कंपनी शुरू हुई थी. तो so you understand these are difficult decisions.
And Anupam, how will you differentiate between here, matlab, here that between professional will and empathy? For example, shutting down the mills will always cost people losing their jobs. Okay, but that decision needed to be taken for the better good of the company.
Hmm.
So, um, are we saying that he was not empathetic, or we are saying that he was empathetic but he had
Humble.
to do this because of his professional will?
Well,
Matlab, that
that is a paradox. That's why it
Right.
is a paradox.
Okay, got it.
That's why it's a paradox. They're able to have both.
Got it.
Cool. Anything from your side, Mukul?
No, no.
Cool, guys. I guess thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Take care.
Okay.